The morning of the final hearing, my husband smiled at me like I was already defeated. His lawyer leaned back in his chair, confident, relaxed, the kind of relax that only comes when you think you've already won. They believed I would cry. They believed I would panic. They believed I didn't understand money, law, or strategy. What they didn't know was that for 8 months, while they were building a case against my character, I was building a case against their lies. And by the time his lawyer realized I wasn't the weak wife anymore, it was already too late. For 10 years, I played the role perfectly. I hosted dinners, remembered birthdays, scheduled pediatric appointments, and smiled politely when my husband Trent explained our finances to friends as if I were a guest in my own life. Whenever I asked questions about investments or accounts, he would squeeze my hand gently and say, "Don't stress yourself, I've got it handled." People laughed. I laughed too. It was easier that way. But over time, I realized something unsettling. I wasn't being protected from stress. I was being excluded from power. The first real crack in the illusion wasn't romantic betrayal, it was digital. One evening, I tried logging into our joint account to download a tax form. The password had been changed. When I asked Trent, he barely looked up from his phone. "Security update," he said casually. A week later, I noticed an $11,200 transfer labeled equipment upgrade. We didn't own equipment. Then came monthly payroll entries. $4,800 paid to someone named L. Harper. I checked our company website. There was no Harper. My stomach didn't drop dramatically. It hardened slowly. Around the same time, his sister Melanie began treating me differently. She started asking strange questions about my stress levels and whether I felt overwhelmed. I later discovered she was receiving $1,200 a month listed as a vendor payment from Trent's company. Her role? Reporting back to him about my emotional state. They weren't just hiding money, they were building a narrative. One that painted me as unstable, incapable, irrational. I began to understand that if this ever went to court, I was already being positioned as the weak one. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. every day while he slept and began documenting everything. I downloaded transaction histories, printed bank statements, highlighted inconsistencies, and organized them by date. I scheduled a private consultation with a forensic accountant under the pretense of financial planning. Within 2 weeks, we uncovered a newly formed LLC registered under a relative's address. Nearly $182,000 had been redirected there over 18 months through fabricated invoices. That was the moment my fear transformed into focus. When I met my attorney, she didn't react emotionally. She simply said, "This is dissipation of marital assets." She explained how funds used for affairs or hidden through shell companies could be reclaimed. Every hotel charge disguised as a client meeting. Every payroll deposit to a non-existent consultant. All traceable, all recoverable. I walked out of her office no longer confused, but strategic. I didn't need revenge. I needed documentation. At mediation, Trent arrived confident, relaxed, almost amused. His lawyer suggested a generous 50/50 asset split and implied that I should avoid a lengthy court battle. They spoke as though I lacked the stamina to fight. As they presented their offer, I watched them carefully. They had no idea what I knew. No idea that the spreadsheet sitting quietly in my lawyer's briefcase could dismantle their entire strategy. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting. I was waiting. On the first day of trial, the courtroom felt colder than expected. Trent sat upright in a navy blazer, composed and polished. Behind him sat the woman from payroll, L. Harper. His lawyer began by describing him as the sole financial provider, and me as someone who never participated in complex business decisions. The implication was subtle but clear. I didn't understand money. When Trent testified under oath that there were no hidden accounts and no improper transfers, I felt something unexpected, calm, because perjury, once spoken, becomes permanent. When my attorney stood and requested to display Exhibit 17, the projector lit up with a clean, chronological ledger of transfers. The Ghost LLC appeared. The payroll payments appeared. The equipment invoices matched hotel bookings in another state. Trent's posture shifted slightly. His lawyer leaned forward, whispering urgently. The judge asked him directly to explain the consulting payments. His answer was weak, vague marketing services. That's when my attorney calmly stated that the consultant was present in court and could clarify her role. The room became still. The real turning point came unexpectedly. My attorney requested permission to call an additional witness. The courtroom doors opened, and Trent's mother entered. I hadn't known she would agree to testify. Months earlier, she had discovered discrepancies while reviewing estate documents and confronted him privately. When she took the stand, her voice trembled but remained firm. She confirmed finding documentation of the hidden LLC and stated she believed the funds were being concealed intentionally. Trent didn't look at her. His lawyer stopped taking notes. Next came the forensic accountant. He presented recovered emails from a hard drive Trent believed had been wiped. Messages discussing moving funds before she catches on. Attachments detailing invoice templates used repeatedly. The payroll setup instructions for L. Harper. Even payment memos referencing vacations. Nothing dramatic happened outwardly. But internally, everything shifted. The lawyer who once leaned back confidently was now flipping pages rapidly, calculating exposure. The final blow was quiet. My attorney submitted an audio recording from a mediation session months earlier. Trent's voice, clear and deliberate, saying, "If she looks unstable, the judge will side with me." The judge paused playback midway and asked if he disputed the authenticity. He didn't. In that moment, it was no longer about money. It was about intent, calculated character assassination. His lawyer's expression changed completely. He wasn't defending a simple divorce anymore. He was managing damage. The judge's ruling came weeks later, calm, methodical, devastating in its precision. The court found intentional dissipation of marital assets, reassigned 70% of the estate to me, ordered repayment of concealed funds, froze the LLC accounts, and mandated full financial transparency under supervision. Attorney fees were shifted. The matter of perjury was referred for further review. There was no shouting, no cinematic outburst, just consequences written into legal record. After the hearing, Trent stood still as people filtered out of the courtroom. His lawyer spoke quietly to him, no longer projecting confidence. The woman from payroll left without speaking to him. His sister avoided eye contact entirely. I didn't feel triumph. I felt clarity. I walked toward the elevator, pressed the button, and waited. For the first time in years, I wasn't being managed, minimized, or dismissed. I wasn't the weak wife anymore. And the moment his lawyer realized that, it was already too late.